l'andamento del mercato in Europa. Lei è Principal Analysis di IABM, ossia la International Trade Association for the Broadcast and Media Industry. Grazie mille di essere qui, il suo intervento appunto in inglese, le lascio subito la parola.
Grazie.
Nice to have you here.
Yeah, grazie. Yeah, so hello everyone, and excuse my voice. Thank you for the invitation to this great event. For those who don't know us, so IABM is an international trade association, a non-profit trade association with 600 corporate members. We represent media technology suppliers, which include the most leading technology suppliers in Europe and also globally. My presentation consists of 4 parts. First, a few words about macro headwinds. So we know that macroeconomic environment has deteriorated over the past few years' time due to the war in Ukraine and also energy crisis, inflation, affecting consumers' willingness to pay for entertainment. Secondly, efficiency is something that is driving investment in media technology. And also scarcity, which relates to the talent shortage, which is now quite widely recognized within our industry, and also supply chain difficulties continue. Finally, a few words about AI being a very crucial driver for technology investment. Just a few words about also IABM's data. So with 600 corporate members, but also close contacts to broadcasters and production companies worldwide, we are able to conduct research as an interface between MediaTech suppliers and also media technology buyers. So based on our data, we saw that confidence within our industry has decreased in 2023, and this being primarily the case because of those macro factors that I mentioned, the war and energy prices going up, inflation. However, we see that the outlook for 2024 seems to be already more positive. Our stakeholders in the industry are reporting that they already foresee more investment next year. And when looking at the past 4 years' time, the business confidence is now dictated by these macro headwinds, which we refer to these problems in the macroeconomic environment. And for consumers, it means that obviously they are churning more their streaming services. They're less willing to pay for entertainment. For media companies, it means the revenues are decreasing, subscriptions, but also public broadcasters' revenues, which are often linked to political decisions and budgets. In terms of content, we also see less investment in original content because media companies and streaming services are increasingly shifting their focus now from original content to curated licensing, content licensing. And during the COVID time, we saw really an explosion of content investment. Also, a lot of broadcasters were rushing to launch their own streaming services. But now the focus is really going to the quality of those streaming services. So we are seeing a lot of talk about quality of experience, which means quality of content, quality of service, quality of immersive, engaging experience. Also, resources are scarce, like I mentioned. These shortages really have resulted in price hikes in components, and also we see technology suppliers stocking raw materials, which has made prices to go up. We know that major media companies like Disney, they have launched Disney Plus some years back, but this direct-to-consumer business is still not really profitable. So we see that they are trying to cut costs to make that profitable shift to happen by cutting jobs, also cutting spending on on content, and so on. In terms of public broadcasters, we see also a lot of pressure, like I mentioned, often linked to political decisions, and budgets are tight after the COVID pandemic and also the energy crisis. So really pressure on that side that is likely to continue the same way. And this, our data shows that also over the past 6 years' time, we have seen margins going down. There were some slight peaks up, but this is really the trend. And now, as the competition is getting more fierce, this trend will definitely continue. However, media companies are then investing heavily in efficiency, which then enables them to compensate this reduction in margins. Technology vendors within our organization, they report having a lot of difficulties because of the supply chain shortages and difficulties there, scarcity of electronic components, particularly from Asia. The procurement and supply chains are not yet recovered from the COVID pandemic. Also, we see salary inflation, so obviously meaning pressure to raise salaries in media companies. And of course then what this means to media technology vendors, they have then put that price pressure to their technology. So we see that there's also certain price increases happening this year. And a lot of raw materials being procured in advance. Our data is tracking also tech roadmap. That means what media companies are keeping as priority when they are planning technology investments. Cloud and virtualization remain still as a top, followed by OTT and streaming. We are seeing big jump of AI and analytics in 1 year's time, and this is particularly because of generative AI. So the past 12 months we have seen the launch of generative AI, and that those language models will transformatively change things in our industry, and companies are already now preparing to it. Remote production, which was really more top or more up in our ranking during the COVID pandemic, obviously has then dropped down as companies are then doing more productions the traditional way, despite a permanent hybrid work mode, though in some companies. In terms of purchasing drivers, we also see that total cost of ownership keeps the top position, but is now followed by training and support. And this means that as companies are seeing this talent shortage in the industry, media companies are increasingly coming to our members, IABM members, asking that in addition to the technology, we need your training and we need your support, and also support as a continuous basis. So the technology support is increasingly being kind of an ongoing business for tech vendors. Efficiency obviously is something that is necessary when cutting costs, and also return on investment applies to that too. We see that innovation potential has dropped out of the list because it often happens that once media companies start to cut costs, they also have to postpone some of their innovation plans. So, however, cloud adoption is increasing, and we see media companies really moving to the cloud. This year, a little bit with a slower pace, but that means also software investment has gone up a lot, and this is driven by AI. Our data shows that what content chain segments, so what parts of the media content supply chain is being mostly now applied with new technology like AI. We see that create and produce are now top categories, And this is because in the past they were less mature categories to use AI in production. For example, now automation is taking place for a lot of post-production tasks, really driving automation. Whereas then manage and monetize, which used to be the first content chain segments to use AI, for example, in content management, media asset management systems, automatic generation of metadata, tagging, all those things. They were the really first ones to adopt it. And so was the case for monetize, a lot of personalization, recommendation engines. Those applications have now matured a lot, and we see that companies, media companies, are more investing in first, let's say, parts of the content supply chain more. Also when it comes to cloud to camera applications, which are using increasingly AI. Obviously, this AI race is led and driven by major cloud, public cloud service providers like AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, all of which have increasingly heavy focus on generative AI. And this is also something which is highly linked with, as media companies move to the cloud, this is closely correlated to the adoption of those AI tools that these public cloud service providers give them. So even though cloud move and is slightly slowing down this year, but we see that for linear broadcasting, companies are reporting to us that the revenues are growing very slowly or they're declining, which means to them keeping costs low, doing more with less. Actually, this example yesterday in one of the presentations about LED screens is a good example, because it's exactly what we are seeing also in virtual production and making more, which must much less. So it was interesting to see yesterday that this case study about LED screens is exactly what is happening here for the news, for a lot of, let's say, more traditional side of broadcasting. For digital media, we see revenues growing very fast. On that side, costs are not kept low, and there's a lot of investment in potential. IABM data also shows that when we look at media technology budgets, they're actually growing faster than revenues. So this tells us that media companies are a little bit taking a proactive stand, investing in AI and other technologies for next 2 years' time, even though they see that revenues are actually sluggish or somewhat stable. This obviously this transformation has also impact on MediaTech suppliers who are majorly IABM members. They are seeing obviously their software revenues going up, and particularly subscriptions going up, as they are moving to more OPEX-based business model, meaning that collecting monthly subscription fees for their services instead of having CapEx model anymore. And interestingly, this year, subscriptions and software revenues were for the first time surpassing hardware. So this means that really the trend is going to stay permanent. I said already that remote production is down, but we see that hybrid and remote work has come to stay. So we really see that particularly media technology companies, whether they were vendors or broadcasters, increasingly there are permanent teams that distributed teams that work every part of the globe. So this, for technology investment, this means that media companies still want to have those technology tools to enable collaboration. They want to also approach the huge creator economy, which means all these freelancers and, let's say, prosumer type of production people, creative individuals who are currently producing a lot of stuff to social media, for example, but who are becoming much more professional to also to produce content which can be broadcast through a more official channels. During the COVID pandemic, we saw that a lot of MediaTech suppliers, they had to seek new businesses. They were seeking it from corporate, they were seeking it from education, they were seeking it from government, esports, directly sports federations. And this is a trend that has become quite permanent. We see also that those video systems that corporate and education segments are buying from our members, they're also buying more complex things which allow interactivity. For example, sports leagues are buying media asset management systems. It means that these parallel markets have become small-scale media companies in the sense that they own their own production and they want to stream it themselves. The convergence, with convergence I mean convergence between broadcast and media and other segments. For creation, content creation, so we see more immersive and more virtual production taking place. We see that there are more smaller and more versatile creation equipment in use. I mentioned prosumer, for example. We see that prosumer cameras are getting much better. Big camera manufacturers like Sony and so on, they are coming up with really a technology that a prosumer segment can produce better content. For content management, we see convergence also that sold to corporate side, education side, rollout of interactive experiences, and in infrastructure we also see 5G and telcos coming to the picture with increasingly big role in broadcasting content. And obviously, young generations are one of the drivers here. So they want to have, they want to watch TV, but they want to have gaming elements. They want to have social media elements. So this is driving investment too. Finally, a few words about AI. I'm running out of time here, but so AI, IABM is tracking also AI adoption in media technology vendor side and also the media and broadcaster group. We see that AI is ranking now the 5th most important technology in the roadmaps, that at least 1 quarter this year has adopted it and is planning to deploy it in the next years. This is linked directly to cloud adoption as well, and obviously driven by generative AI. When it comes to the most applied segments, produce and manage are top 1 and 2. And this relates to the efficiency and automation, that a lot of manual tasks will be replaced or complemented by AI. How do media companies use AI? According to our data, we see that they are primarily leveraging cloud service providers' AI capabilities. So it means AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, because these companies, these public cloud companies, have launched increasingly many media-specific tools, AI tools, and also media-specific suites, and even pre-trained data models that are sort of plug-in for media companies to just start using. This also translates to that public cloud service providers' AI tools are increasingly being used to guide decision-making in media businesses. So it means these AI tools can provide proactive suggestions, how to optimize costs, how to optimize cloud operation, and so on. And majority of them, or actually all of them, already have Gen AI-based services for media companies, and top 1 cloud provider is AWS, according to our research. Like I mentioned, the cloud adoption now within media companies has slowed down this year, and obviously the big cloud service providers are finding this is something that they want to compensate it with. And what they are doing is really, they're focusing on generative AI, because these language models that generative AI can provide for media companies directly links to, for example, content localization, different translations, which can be done much faster and also more locally. So this means also that they can kind of re-monetize their content by selling it through different channels, fast channels, for example, and so on. And AI is really crucial in this process. I think time is up. Thank you so much.